All right. Here we go. Here we go. Here. All right, everybody, welcome back to Peaches 2.0, where we review mostly fantasy romance books because I'm a sucker for romance. Hopefully you caught my last video for What Lies Beyond the Veil, because today, you guessed it, we are reviewing book 2, which is, make sure that's in focus, What Hunts Inside the Shadows, book 2 of the A Flesh and Bone series by Harper L. Woods. So, very exciting stuff. And without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so number 1 on the checklist, genre, shocker, fantasy romance. It's what I review here. It's what I like to read. And it's the same genre as book 1 in the series. Groundbreaking stuff. Number 2 on our checklist, spice level, consistent with book 1. This book is hot, capital H, 2 T's. It's 4. I'm giving it a 4 out of 5. And to just give you further context, we're talking characters having hate sex by chapter 4. Like, she gets right into the spice in this one. No build, just straight into it. So you can't say I didn't warn you. Number 3 on our checklist, plot summary. So there's a line from the book that one of the supporting characters says to Estrella that I think just kind of sums up this second book really well, which is, "You're in the world of the Fae now, Estrella Barlow of Mistfell." It's the second book in the series, and, you know, like that line says, you're in the world of the Fae now. You're really diving into the world of magic and the Fae and the universe that Harper established in book 1. She's really expanding it and getting into the details. And also, quick pause. If you have not read book 1, stop this video, go read it, then come back, because I can't get into the rest of the plot summary without spoilers from book 1. It won't be a spoiler for book 2, but it's kind of critical you read book 1. Otherwise, you're gonna ruin the surprise. So stop, go read book 1, come back, watch this video, read book 2. All right, unpause. Book 2 picks up right where book 1 left off. So at the end of book 1, right, Callum's true identity is revealed, and Estrella gets to realize that the man she has come to love is not really a man. He is actually her mate. He is the god of the dead. His real name is Caldris, and he is badass. A little scary, but badass. 2 is very much her coming to terms with who Callum really is. The other thing is, as she's coming to terms with who Callum really is Callum and Estrella, they actually meet up with the Wild Hunt. They pick up a couple other Fae Mart, and they are making their way back across everywhere they trekked in the first book. They're going back, headed on back. They're going back to Mistfell, going back to what's left of the Vale, and making their way to Alfheimer to bring all the Fae Mart back to their mates. Not so much like book 1, where it was just Estrella and Callum like flirting the whole time. The other thing I'll say about the second book and my plot summary is just make sure you read the trigger warnings. Book 2 specifically is a lot darker than book 1. There's way more battles, there's way more violence. To be book 1, we literally had a child predator in the story, so for book 2 to be darker, like, just make sure you read the trigger warnings, okay? Number 4 on the checklist, main characters. So I'm going to keep this a consistent rating with book 1, a 4 out of 5. So Estrella, our female main character, I will say in the first part of the book, she was a little whiny, a little annoying for me. I mean, yes, she was betrayed by the man she loved, and everything he told her was a half-truth, but at the same time, it's like, I mean, stop whining, girl. But I will say there's a mystery kind of that unfolds in book 2 about Estrella's true identity. Book 1 was like, who the hell is Callum? Book 2, who the hell is Estrella? So very, very interesting to see that unfold. And I'll say, you know, we know our girl Estrella is a badass from book 1, but book 2, I mean, she can be vicious in protecting people. So she's a badass. And then our male main character, Callum or Caldris, I'm going to call him Callum just to be consistent. So we get to learn more about his background. So the first book, it was very much, like I said, half-truths and not necessarily the full details of his background and who he really is. So in book 2, you get to kind of see the whole truth and why he is the way he is and everything he's faced. He's super protective of Estrella, which is consistent with book 1. But what I really, really liked about Callum is he never takes away Estrella's choice. I mean, yes, he wants to make sure she's protected and he doesn't want to leave her on her own to be, you know, slaughtered by the Mistguard, but he does want to make sure she has a choice. He's not going to force her to go back to Alfheimer and become his mate. Like, he'll make sure she's cared for, but she doesn't have to stay with him if she doesn't want to, which I thought was really wonderful, loving. And then the other thing too is like he really revels in Estrella figuring out who she is and finding her power. He's not intimidated, he's not threatened by it. He's like, I mean, in a masculine way, but he's like, you go girl. Like, so we love him. We still love him. Next on our checklist, supporting characters. So happy to say this is an increased score from book 1. It's definitely a 4 out of 5 from me. We get to meet Holt, who is the leader of the Wild Hunt. Per Callum, he's the closest thing Callum has to a friend. We've got Eldelphia. She was a very, very minor character in book 1, but she comes back for a bit. We've got Imelda, who's actually a witch from the Resistance, who joins up with the Wild Hunt. Same with Fallon. She comes over from the Resistance and actually ends up being really good friends with Estrella throughout, which was great to see Estrella kind of form female friendships. And then my favorite is we get to start to see glimpses of Queen Mab, who is the big bad of this series. She is evil, she is wicked, she is nasty. So we finally get to start to see glimpses of her. We get to hear a little bit about her from Callum, but we actually get to see glimpses of her as well, which is, you know, super exciting for the story, you know? That's that layer of conflict, what we love to read about. Favorite part. All right, don't kill me. I don't have a specific favorite part from this book. What I do have is just in general. There are, throughout the book, Estrella really struggles with allowing herself to be loved. She feels really guilty about it. She's just not about it. So there are a few wonderful, warm, fuzzy moments with her and with Callum, and where she really just allows herself to be loved, even if it's for 10 seconds. So for me, that was my favorite parts, which leads me into complete opposite for my favorite lines. So like I said, Estrella, she's a badass. And in book 2, she can be vicious. So there's a moment, and I'm not going to give you full context because it's towards the end of the book, but she's facing off with somebody in the Mistguard. And she says to them, she says, you wish to behave as if you do not have a soul. Your wish is my command. Like, chills, but also like, you go girl, you go girl. I love reading the romance. I love the warm fuzzies, but then I also like a moment where we have a badass bitch. So, and then last part of the checklist, you guys know, is always just my overall thoughts about the book. So consistent with book 1, I'm giving this one a 4 out of 5. Really, really like book 2. I think it lives up to book 1. If anything, it's, you know, slightly better in that you get an expansion of the world, the lore. You get additional supporting characters who interact with the main characters. It really just builds. And if everything you would want from a second book, it brings. It's also much darker than book 1. You can kind of feel the upcoming storm brewing that Callum and Estrella will have to face in order to have their kind of happily ever after. If they're going to have a happily ever after, like, please. Harper L. Woods, if you ever see this video, please tell me they have a happily ever after. I don't know what I'm gonna do if they don't. So fingers crossed. But you can really feel the upcoming storm brewing. The book two really kind of sets that up. You've got the added mystery of Estrella's true identity combined with the strengthening of Callum and Estrella's love. And then consistent through all the books she's released in this series so far is it ends on an epic cliffhanger. So you either love it or you hate it, or you love to hate it. One of those three. But it is there, and it all adds up to a freaking epic book and a 4 out of 5. And I definitely recommend you guys read it. All right, so that's everything on the checklist for What Hunts Inside the Shadows. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment down below. What was your favorite line? Or if you're planning on reading this book, let me know. And the other thing is I've started an Instagram to kind of give sneak peeks into what is coming for reviews on this channel, what I'm reading currently, you know, all that fun stuff that can be a little bit more real time than YouTube. So make sure you go subscribe. The link is in my YouTube description. And until next time, I will, what will I do? I'll be reading more. I'll be reading more books. So I will see you guys next time. Bye.